The scent of roasted lamb and rosemary wafted through the air as I stepped into the cozy, dimly lit restaurant nestled in London's West End. My son, James, had chosen this place for our dinner, an unexpected invitation after months of strained silence. The clink of glasses and murmurs of conversation created a warm atmosphere, but my chest tightened with unease. James's message had been curt. "Dinner at 8. We need to talk." I hadn't spoken to him since our last row, when I told him he wouldn't inherit the family textile business. That decision had fractured our relationship, and I feared this dinner was his attempt to reopen the wound. I'm Thomas Harrington, founder of Harrington Textiles, a company I built from a single loom in a cramped Manchester warehouse to a multi-million-pound empire supplying fabrics across the UK and Europe. James, my only son, grew up surrounded by that success, but he never understood the grit it took to achieve it. At 28, he was impulsive, entitled, and reckless, qualities that made him unfit to lead. When I told him I was passing the reins to my trusted manager, Richard, instead of him, James's face had contorted with betrayal. "You're cutting me out of my own legacy," he'd shouted, storming out of my office. That was 6 months ago. Now, as I scanned the restaurant, I spotted him at a corner table, his sharp features softened by the glow of a candle. He looked different, calmer, almost unnervingly composed. His eyes met mine and he stood, offering a tight smile. "Dad, glad you came," he said, gesturing to the seat across from him. I sat, noting the absence of his usual flashy watch or tailored suit. He was dressed simply, almost humbly, in a plain white shirt and trousers. "I ordered your favorite, shepherd's pie," he said, his tone light but calculated. "Let's eat first, then talk." The waiter brought steaming plates of shepherd's pie, the rich, savory aroma filling the space between us. We ate in near silence, the clatter of cutlery masking the tension. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. James's demeanor was too polished, too rehearsed. When the plates were cleared, he leaned forward, folding his hands on the table. "Dad," he began, his voice low, "I've had time to reflect on what happened. I was furious when you chose Richard over me. I thought I deserved the business because I'm your son. But I understand now. You didn't think I was ready?" I nodded cautiously, unsure of his angle. "James, it wasn't about love. It was about responsibility. The business is bigger than us. It supports hundreds of families." "I know," he said, his eyes glinting. "That's why I wanted to show you something tonight. Proof that I've changed." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded document, sliding it across the table. "Open it." I unfolded it, my eyes scanning the pages. It was a business proposal, meticulously crafted, for a new textile venture called James & Co. The plan outlined sustainable production, international partnerships, and a vision to rival Harrington Textiles. My stomach churned as I read the numbers, millions in projected revenue backed by investors I recognized as my competitors. "Where did you get this?" I asked, my voice tight. James leaned back, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "I built it. Over the last 6 months, while you thought I was sulking, I was working. I reached out to your rivals, the ones you've outmaneuvered for years. They were eager to fund me. You see, Dad, I don't need your business anymore. I'm going to take it down." The words struck like a blow. I stared at him, searching for the boy I'd raised, but all I saw was cold ambition. "James, this is betrayal," I said, my voice trembling. "You'd destroy everything I built just to prove a point?" "Not to prove a point," he said, his tone icy. "To win. You thought I wasn't good enough, so I'll show you how wrong you were. By the time I'm done, Harrington Textiles will be history." I pushed the document back toward him, my hands shaking. "This isn't you, James. This is anger talking." He laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "No, Dad, this is me taking control. You invited this when you shut me out." He stood, tossing a few pound notes onto the table. "Enjoy the pie. It's the last meal we'll share." As he walked away, I sat frozen, the restaurant's warmth replaced by a chilling dread. I thought I'd protected my legacy by keeping James out, but I'd underestimated him. He wasn't just my son anymore, he was my rival, and he was out for blood. Over the next few months, James's plan unfolded with ruthless precision. James & Co. launched with fanfare, securing contracts with my biggest clients by offering lower prices and eco-friendly fabrics, a direct jab at Harrington Textiles' traditional methods. My competitors, bitter from years of losing to me, poured money into James's venture, giving him the resources to scale rapidly. Whispers spread in the industry. Thomas Harrington's son was coming for his empire. I fought back, investing in innovation, but James was always one step ahead. He'd learned the business at my side after all. He knew my suppliers, my strategies, my weaknesses. By the end of the year, Harrington Textile's profits had plummeted, and I was forced to lay off workers, people who'd been with me for decades. Each redundancy notice felt like a personal failure. The real blow came on the night of James & Co.'s first anniversary. James hosted a lavish gala in London, inviting industry leaders, media, and even some of my former employees. I wasn't invited, but a colleague sent me a link to a live stream. There, on a dazzling stage, James announced a merger with one of my oldest rivals, creating a conglomerate that dwarfed Harrington Textiles. The crowd erupted as he raised a glass, his smile triumphant. "To new beginnings," he said, "and to proving them wrong." I shut off the stream, my chest tight. I'd lost more than my business, I'd lost my son. But as I sat in my empty office, surrounded by the ghosts of my success, a spark of defiance ignited. James thought he'd won, but I wasn't finished. I'd built Harrington Textiles from nothing once before. I could do it again. I spent the next year in the shadows, rebuilding. I sold my Kensington flat and moved into a modest apartment, funneling every penny into a new venture. This time I focused on what James had overlooked: the local market. While he chased global contracts, I partnered with small-scale weavers in the Midlands, creating affordable, high-quality fabrics for the UK's growing middle class. I called it Thomas Threads, a nod to my roots. Word spread quickly. Customers loved the story of the underdog fighting back, and soon Thomas Threads was gaining traction. I avoided direct competition with James, focusing instead on grassroots loyalty. But I knew he'd notice eventually. That moment came on a rainy evening in October 2025, nearly 2 years after our fateful dinner. My phone pinged with a text from James. "Meet me at the same restaurant. PM. My gut churned, but I went. The restaurant felt different, less inviting, more like a battlefield. James was already there, his face drawn, his eyes weary. The swagger was gone. He gestured for me to sit, and I noticed a folder on the table. "Dad," he said, his voice softer than I'd expected. "I underestimated you. Thomas Threads is cutting into my market. My investors are getting jittery." I leaned back, studying him. "You wanted a war, James. You got one." He slid the folder toward me. "This is a merger offer. Join James & Co. as a partner. We can dominate the market together." I opened the folder, glancing at the terms. It was generous, too generous. I closed it and pushed it back. "You think I'd join you after everything? You tried to destroy me." His jaw tightened, but his eyes betrayed something new. Fear. "I don't want to lose you again," he said quietly. "I thought this was about winning, but I miss you, Dad." For a moment, I saw the boy who used to beg me to tell him stories about the old looms. But I couldn't forget the betrayal, the workers I'd let go, the empire I'd nearly lost. I stood, leaving the folder on the table. "You made your choice, James. Now live with it." As I walked out into the rain, I felt a strange peace. James had his victory, but I had my pride. The fight wasn't over, but this time I was ready for whatever he threw at me. Revenge, I realized, wasn't about destroying him. It was about rebuilding myself stronger than ever.